I was a mostly happy, middle-aged woman, single, never been married. I always teased and said my husband was lost and wouldn't stop to ask for directions. All my friends are married and have kids, and I thought, Lord, that's not going to happen for me. I have missed the window of biological motherhood. I was praying about the possibility of adoption, and I told these 4 girls at church, I said, I just can't quite let this idea of adoption go, but will y'all pray with me that I'll just have wisdom regarding what God wants me to do? And 3 of them basically said, we've got your back, we'll pray with you. And then one of them said, you shared with our small group that you were sexually molested when you were younger. And she said, I know you've been to a lot of Christian counseling, but just in case you weren't fixed, you might unwittingly transfer some of that trauma onto a child. So she said, I don't think you're a good candidate for motherhood. I know you want to nurture something. So my encouragement to you would be to go to the Nashville Humane Society and adopt a dog, because you're really good with pets. Her words resonated with the deepest fear in me, that there was something in me so damaged that it really couldn't be redeemed. And so I took my adoption application. I was 40 years old, and I put it in the back of my file drawer at work. And the next day I went to the Nashville Humane Society and I adopted another dog. It was 7 more years. I was 47 years old before I was finally brave enough and believed God big enough to start the adoption process again. I wanted a kid who didn't have much of a shot at a mama and a daddy, because I do think that's best case scenario for a child to be adopted by 2 parents. But I said, if there's a child who doesn't have that shot, or it doesn't look like they're to have that shot, then sign me up. And I lost 2 domestic adoptions before a friend called me and said, just got home from Haiti, and while we were there, one of the young mamas died of AIDS and left behind a 2.5-year-old who's really, really sick. She has HIV and tuberculosis and cholera, and doctors are saying she's not going to make it. But I thought about you, because you said you wanted a kid nobody was standing in line for. Would you pray about this? And I said, nope, I've been praying about this for 30 years. Sign me up. And 6 weeks later, I was in Haiti, and they put Missy in my arms for the first time. Sorry. She was 19 pounds, 2.5 years old, sick as can be. She reached her little brown finger up and grabbed my pinky finger. And she said in this real gravelly voice, because the tuberculosis was so high in her lungs, she could barely speak. She went, "Hello, Mama Blanc." That means hello, white mama. And I was like, stick a fork in me, I am done. And so that started the adoption process. Initially, I was hoping it would only be a couple of months, and of course that dragged on and dragged on. Based on Haiti's regulations, I had to move her from that village to an orphanage about 2 hours away, and that was the most difficult part of the whole journey. That was a year and a half in. The nannies at this particular orphanage would not pick Missy up. They thought Missy's HIV was highly contagious. And so she was completely ostracized in this orphanage. I didn't know any of this. And I went down there. At that point, I hadn't seen her for 4 months. And I started sorting through all the other kids, and I couldn't find Missy. And I started to panic. And then the closer I got to this shape in the corner, I realized that's my child. That's Missy by herself in the basement. Face was filthy. She was just in a diaper, even though she had been potty trained for several years by then. It's like nobody wanted to tend to her because they were afraid she was contagious. And so I squatted down in front of her and I said, "Baby, it's Mama." And when she looked up and realized it was me, she just went like this. And I picked her up. And when I found out a short time later, she hadn't been held probably in months, I wouldn't set her down, because I thought my child will never again know what it's like to not have somebody who loves her, who will pick her up. When I got the call, "You can come get her," and I was like, how? Like I was ready to, run to Haiti. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I danced in my house, and then I went by myself to Haiti because, I don't know, there was just something, and I felt like that last part of the journey was just going to be mama and daughter. And leaving the orphanage, hugging everybody, and her just, you can tell she was like, well, this big pale chick is my lot in life. We get on the plane, I'm so amped up I can't sleep. And I just held her hand the whole way. And friends of mine had gathered from all over to wait at the airport. You could hear people screaming in the Nashville airport for Missy. But I'm telling you, every day since I brought her home, I think it's sweeter than the one before. The day after I brought her home, we went straight to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. She had some lung problems, parasites in her body. She had some effects of the cholera, certainly HIV symptoms. And so you just go kind of, okay, where do we start? And I just kept thinking, we're one step at a time, one step at a time. Her health now is nothing short of a miracle. Her HIV is the lowest level of undetectable. There's 2 different tests with pediatric HIV. So there is literally no HIV in her blood right now. There is not one single scar on her lungs from the tuberculosis that almost killed her when she was a baby. There are no residual effects, no scars, no negative consequences, no liver toxicity. She is healthy as a horse. Her life expectancy is exactly that of a child who never had HIV. She will have children. Her doctor, even about 6 months ago, he said, Lisa, I can't explain this. He's one of the top pediatric infectious disease specialists in the world. And he said, I can't explain this. And I said, oh, I can. I can explain it. I want her to have a pedal to the metal life. I want her to dance. I want her to sing. I want her to celebrate and to live in light of the reality that God celebrates her. I wake up grateful every day. I've never been so grateful in my whole life. I'm grateful first for the goodness of God. Missy isn't my hope. Jesus is my hope. But through this story, things I had taught about Jesus, books I had written, things I'd studied in seminary, it all became Technicolor.